Hello, and welcome back to Oolykee Gaming, and welcome back to another, first ever tutorial video of how to get started. So, I was thinking of making this video a while ago, but I didn't think there was enough interest. I thought everybody already knew how to play this game, even though when I started the game I had no idea. I had a friend showing me for hours how to play it, because there wasn't a tutorial or anything like that. And yeah, some people asked me, would I do this? And yes, indeed I will. Now we're gonna start on the hardest level. I'm gonna show you a couple of months of setups, some basic setups like oil, meat production, alcohol production, clothing production, probably even selling electricity through coal, mining coal, and so on. We'll cover all the basics. Now, I'm gonna show you, we're gonna start on hard, but I will turn off the night cycle, just because recording at night, it's kinda ugly. And also, usually it starts 1970, I wanna go 1960, it should add a little bit more, challenge to the whole, tutorial, or just to see it's possible. Right, okay, I'm gonna start like this. We're gonna go start on a random map. Oh, it's gonna be quite flat, of course, unfortunately. I'm just gonna leave everything as it is, and I'm gonna put number of towns to maximum. Right, we're gonna start, and I'm gonna see you after I set up the first setup. We're gonna start with oil. Right, a couple of disclaimers. I've been sponsored. No, kidding. I'm gonna show you basics how it works. So, forget about trading with NATO countries. NATO countries, they don't provide you enough machinery, they don't provide you enough of anything. Soviet is the way to go. Why? Because everything is in rubles, like all the buses, all the trucks, everything that you're going to be using, it's in rubles. So forget about trading with NATO countries. You can do it if you want, but you're not going to be buying a lot of stuff from them. Some simple stuff would be, the best stuff would be, you can finish construction with dollars, which is a little bit more expensive than in rubles. And the second thing would be, you can buy the harvesters. Harvesters for farms are much better Western ones than the Soviet ones. But anyway, this is just before we start. We're gonna focus on oil now, and what we're gonna do on the borders of Soviet territory, we're gonna find all the oil sources and we're gonna exploit them. As you can see here where we are, we're just going to a place where there's not a lot of oil. This is well, there's some oil here. We're gonna exploit that, and I'm gonna build oil rigs all over the border with Soviet Union, and we're gonna let it play out for a couple of months, and we'll see how that's gonna work. Now let me set this up, and I'm gonna show you what we're gonna be working with. Right, okay, I think setup is done. Let's just quickly go and check it out. So we have some oil fields here. I send the tankers there. I will slowly let them loose because we are mining pretty fast. I'm gonna pause it. I'm gonna use the everything we can. I'm gonna let it run for 2 months. We're gonna analyze the February. The only expense we're gonna calculate in is gonna be electricity and fuel, because this is what we're importing. We're importing fuel for our petrol stations, and we are importing electricity because we're not producing any. Yes, so let's check out the setup. We have 2 wells here, and then we have down the border here, we have several wells here. Well, I have 5 over here, plus 2 over here. They're all connected to power source. There we go, and this one as well. I'm gonna check if everything is working out, if everything is fine. We have more wells here, 2 wells here, and then we have additional 3 here. Plus, let's see here, that's south side done. Let's go to west side. We still have money, and we still have oil. I just didn't want to overdo it. We have an additional 2 here, 4. And 3, that's 7, and 3 here, that's 10. So 10 here, and there was like 12 there or something. This is how many we have. So I can just check how many vehicles we bought, and it doesn't matter. I will be buying more vehicles because I want them functioning at 100%. As soon as they are full, I'm gonna need to send a new vehicle so everything functions properly. Right, that's it. Setup is there. We're gonna see each other at the end of February. Yes, so we will not be going to February. It's just gonna take a long time for me to record this video. We can satisfy ourselves with January because this is skyrocketing. This is just out of any wild predictions I made. So I wanted to show you. This is what we are exporting. We exported 2,000 tons of oil. We earned 85,000 rubles in month of January, which is like not. It's like half of the month, third of the month, trucks were going to refuel, not even delivering fuel to the border or oil. And I bought altogether, I don't know, 2 to 3 trucks maximum per rig. And some of the rigs are not even pumping because they're full. So technically I probably should get more trucks here and here to maximize the profits, but this is working out more than I expected. They're queuing up on the border to export all this. Now, next step, adding value, guys, adding value. So you continue not selling oil, you redirect those tankers towards a refinery where you're gonna build it. That's up to you. You save up some money, and even with this pace, you will be able to save up a lot of money quite fast. This is hard, just to repeat, this is on hardest. Now, I would $400,000 is refinery, in rubles will be 267,000 rubles. So technically in 2-3 months you would be able to pay back, to buy a refinery. Technically we can already build it because you have money straight away. There we go, 1st of February. Let's do the review of the finances, what we did. We are at 500,000 rubles and 300, just under $300,000. I used dollars to construct something because I was thinking that we might not have enough rubles, but I gave up not using every oil source. You can. I just stopped at one point. There's no point of expanding too much. You can always build, let's say, additional tank. So something like so, and you can build it and connect both rigs to this, and that's how you can store up your fuel and later on connect it to your train or something, or have a single pickup point for all the oil that you have. Anyway, look, let's do the finances and let's continue on. This is gonna take a while. So last month, January, we earned 100,000 rubles, and we lost to fuel 18,000 and power 4,000, so 4,300. So that would be 22,200. 22,200. And exports, all of it is this, 102,300. So 80,000 pure profit. Pure profit is 80,000 rubles after you deduct the fuel and electricity for mining the oil. There you go. You can't miss with this. It's gonna take a while to set up because there's a lot of trucks that need to be exporting all this stuff, but this is how you can start exporting oil and earning yourself a small or modded refinery. I'm gonna be only using vanilla game in the beginning. I know that this game is only for computers, for PCs at the moment, so no playing on PlayStation, and everybody has the same access to the mods. You can download the mods, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go with vanilla just to demonstrate everything, because in the next section we're gonna have to build some amenities for people as well. There you go, earning money selling oil. New day, new map. Right, we're gonna start with agriculture. I'm gonna test both meat and alcohol production here. We're gonna choose a town. I think this is perfect, close to the border, Soviet border, and has a lot of flatlands around because we're gonna have quite few farms. We're gonna have 2 farms, one for alcohol production, one for meat production, and we'll see where we're gonna go from there. Right, let me set this up and see you in a sec. Okay, so we have a setup here. We have 2 farms, one of them here, one of them is here. We have, I don't know, 20-ish big fields. I let them decide who's gonna go where, but this is just a setup. I don't even think we're gonna be using that much crops. I will calculate crops into the profits because we are buying crops here and we are buying crops here. I was thinking of connecting this to 2 different farms, but that would start complicating situation. They would have to walk everywhere around. I'm just gonna have to tell you this, guys. So this farm here, produces 5 tons of livestock per day, and slaughterhouse can process 250 tons of livestock. So they can process 50 times more meat than these guys can produce. So 50 of these would be equivalent to one of these. So yeah, slaughterhouse, we're just gonna have to multiply everything by 50 if you guys wanna try just going for meat. But on the other hand, alcohol is a really good export product. So let's check the prices. So in the first segment we covered the oil, which is quite cheap. 42.5 per ton, and one truck 12 tons was like 500 rubles, I think. But when you have a fleet of them, that's a different story. Now we spend more or less the same amount of money, a little bit more dollars, a little bit less rubles, and this is what we got. We have, just let me see if we have storage for alcohol. We have some storage. I'm gonna have to send the trucks soon, but we have two things we're selling now. We are selling meat, which is 240 the rubles per ton, selling it. And the second one would be alcohol. If I was here we go, 250. So more or less the same price. So this is something that if you start, you will have to pay attention to your people. So you will have to give your people, I don't know, shopping, food. For food, they're gonna have to have all this nice stuff in life, you know. Food these days, it's a Soviet Union. I mean, like, it's a Soviet Republic, you know. Food, come on, be serious. All jokes aside, you have to take care of your citizens. So because they will just leave, and we don't have a school or kindergarten. We don't need it at the moment. I think we have more than enough people around here that have some power, but that's fine. So let's see what's gonna happen here. It's important that this building is fully stocked because they're producing meat, and we have to slaughter meat here. The other thing would be, let us real quickly check what is the price of livestock. Price of livestock is 158 per ton. So it's pretty expensive to import, especially if you take it into account if you start importing livestock. Bear in mind that it needs twice as much livestock to get the certain amount of meat. What does it mean? It means that you have to buy twice amount of this to get this, and it's not worth it. Do not import livestock. You either produce it yourself or you don't produce it at all. Crops, on the other hand, they're quite cheap. Crops are fine. You need 10 tons of crops to get 5 tons of livestock. That's quite worth it. So technically, if you build your own factory here, your livestock farm, you can import crops. Import crops, it's not a problem. They're not really expensive. They're only 16. That would be 32 and a half rubles per ton of meat, per ton of livestock that we'll be producing. So we're probably not gonna see this in this demonstration, but these fields, when I start when we start getting crops, it would be significant. We would be importing much less crops. But now I'm gonna set up some trucks, and we're gonna let it run for a while and see how far we're gonna get. Anyway, off I go. Well, comes as a shock, actually. This is not really worth it. Because our profits from exports are barely anything. 17,500, couple of truckload of meat, and more than a couple of truckloads of alcohol. We still need to, of course, set up our operations around the town, because we don't have enough workers. There are supposed to be more workers here working, so anyway, this should have been a bit better. But compared to oil, you see what I mean. This is a good setup because the alcohol, both alcohol and meat, is being used with your population, so you can just cut it out of your costs. And also, you started farming, and this is going to be mass farming. This is going to be a huge income for you when we cut down the costs of materials needed to produce all this food. Anyway, after that you have textiles, you have chemical industry, all the other stuff that needs crops in order to bread. or food, all of it. Anyway, this is a okay setup, okay start. It's gonna be slower than usual, but you will take care of your population first, so you're covering all the costs they have, like meat, bread, meat, food, alcohol, and that kind of stuff. Anyway, this is the second setup, how you can start. It's much more industrial. It requires a little bit more power, and of course it requires you taking care of your population. Okay, let's continue on. Let's go to mining. Right, here we go. Okay, so we have a connection. New map, of course. I was lucky. I actually never saw this before, but that's fine. More or less, it's the same. So we have a coal source here. There was a coal source somewhere in the hills around here as well, but it's here we go, somewhere around here. It wouldn't change anything. We would probably just build a mine on the side of the hill and then just lower. It might even be a little bit easier. Maybe not. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so we have, you have to start the power plant with a little bit of coal in there, so when the workers come in they can start firing up the bad boy. Right, here we go, people are getting to work. It's gonna oscillate up and down a bit because until the buses organize, I have 4 buses with 80 people in every one of them. Well, capacity, we'll see how many people they're gonna actually be transporting. I have some little basic amenities here for our people. They require, okay, they have a culture here, they have a shop, they have a playground or sports ground, so we have a school and a kindergarten, so hopefully we're gonna have some people well, going to work. This is a cute little town. Actually, it's not that little. It's quite nice size. And I also gave them all electricity, so that should be fine. I'm only interested in this central part of town that gravitates towards the bus stop, so we can have some resources. Right. So. What we're gonna pay attention to now, of course, this is sale of electrical energy. When you set up this yourself, guys, build a storage. All the ore from here goes into storage, and then here, and then from here you're gonna have coal instead of coal ore. All of it storage first. You will be able to expand then, build more factories, and so on and so on. Right. So let's check what end of January is gonna bring us. I love this part because you get money straight away. It's not like you have to wait for a truck to go somewhere, but you have to build the power lines. Since the oh yeah, of course something happened here, but doesn't matter. This game gave us a much higher voltage or wattage. So we can export from this whole power plant, we can export all the power that we need through one cable. So we are exporting most of our power. Well, let's see if we can export a bit more. You can see here kilowatts that they are falling down, so exporting this much is borderline, so you wouldn't be doing that. So let's go with 14 megawatts, that's fine. Okay, exporting 14 megawatts and having electricity for our whole town. Let's see what that brings us. See you at in February. So here we go, February, 1st of February, money is slowly going up, and let's see what we did. So last month we're gonna check all the, we have 21,000 from the exports. Now I have to point out several things here. First things first, current coal production here, it's actually much greater than it says here. We would get from this 59%, I would say even up to 200 tons of coal ore, plus you would store that, build a big storage and store it. Then this processing here, this can process 210 tons of coal ore a day. So them getting here 20-30 tons, that's nothing, that's zero. So 210 tons of coal ore can be converted into 120 tons of coal, and one power plant, this one power plant uses 24 tons of coal a day at maximum production. So you would, this here is enough for five coal-fired power plants. Now if you want to utilize this better, I would build at least one more power plant, or you have in mods bigger power plant. bigger coal power plant. I think it produces 3 times more electricity. Or even better, you would build this storage with coal and then connect it to the railroad network. Don't export coal with trucks. It's not worth it. It's too expensive. I would build a loading facility here, and I would loading this coal on the trains, and straight away, bam, to the border until you get your own coal needs, like steel or something like that, or additional power plants. But yeah, this is definitely way to go. This is definitely way to go. I wanted to show you the only expenses we would consider in this case would be fuel for the buses. That would be 2,400, 2,500. But that would be for the full petrol station, full of petrol, and there's much more fuel there. So yeah, this is one of the things I would like to start in the beginning. So oil for now wins at number 1, and this is the second one. I want to explore one more option. Now let's touch the subject of the ores. Now, nuclear industry is way too expensive, so that's not something that you're going to be able to export. And unprocessed coal ore would be $7. Well, coal is $18, 18 rubles per ton. This is significant, guys. When you have train with 5 cars, 300 tons, that would be 300 tons, 100 tons. So 100 times this would be 1,800 times 3. The whole train would have 6,000 the rubles, 6,000 rubles one train that would transport this coal from here to outside. But like I said, the better option, power. Just sell power as much as you can. That's a really good thing. Nuclear industry is too expensive for start, but yeah, this is one of my favorites. One of my favorites would be power production through coal. You can power your own cities. You don't have to import that anymore, and you can start, well, cutting costs on other stuff. For example, I would build another power plant, or like I said, we have basics to produce even a steel, where iron would be needed, but for now I'm not gonna address this issue. I'm not gonna be there we go, we have iron just across the lake here, so we will have a really nice steel city here producing steel. Right, I will, like I wanted to say, the exporting raw materials is not really profitable. You would get a little bit more for iron than we would for coal, but coal deposits are usually better yielding, so I would still stick to coal in this case. Okay, so let me, while we are talking, I want to touch some other things. Like you see here pricey stuff like chemicals, like plastics. They're not worth it. They're not worth it. You can export that, but chemicals you will lose money because you need more stuff to produce chemicals. Then it's more expensive to get resources to produce it. You build chemicals only if you want to advance further on with your chemical industry, your plastics industry, and electronic components, and so on and so on. It's not necessary now. Steel, yes, definitely. You add value to your coal. Add iron, export steel. Just continue adding. I'm gonna cover one more thing which I used to start, and it would be interesting to know how this is gonna function. I'm gonna cover clothing factory, because clothes are pretty expensive, 1,490, and it's relatively simple to have basic resources for clothing as well through production of your own textiles. Let's cover that in just a second. Right, so here we go. New map, of course, and we're on the border of NATO country and Soviet Union. And this is a little setup I just thought of. So this setup here is we have a farm, which I'm not going to expand on. This would be if you want to continue playing, but we found out that we're not going to get any crops within couple of months that we're gonna do this test. We're gonna be importing all our crops, but I'm not gonna calculate it in the last expenses. We're just gonna see what our income is related to clothing. Now let's check this out. Here we need 2.5 tons of fabric a day with maximum production, and we will get 1.2 tons of clothes. We did this twice, so 2 factories. They're both connected to this the storage here. as you can see here. We can even disconnect it here, but I'm not sure if it's necessary or not. I can disconnect this factory and this fabric factory. Right, but I won't. Now, let me show you this. So, for 5 tons of fabric, we are supposed to get 2.5 tons of clothing, or 2.4 tons of clothing we would get for 4.8 tons of fabric. Okay, and that means we would get 2.4 tons. At maximum production, this consumes 0.5 tons of chemicals. Now, with current price, chemicals are worth 1.4 thousand per ton, and we would be using only half of that. So we would be using 729. But we would be getting 5 tons, 4.8 tons of fabric, actually 5 tons of fabric for that amount. So that would be 1,500, which is double of 750. Let's go with that. Or we would be getting 2.4 tons of clothes, which would be 2.5 tons would be 1,400. 1,400, that would be 280 plus 700, that would be 3,500. 3,500 we're gonna get for the price of chemicals worth 700. So yeah, let's see how this is gonna work out. I'm gonna do the test for a month. All of this is set up. I'm gonna have to build some amenities for people like shop, just so they don't leave, and that's it. See you in a month or so. Right, here we go. I wanted to show you something. It's 1st of February, so it's been a month. This one truck is carrying 6.5 tons of clothes. You can see it here. That's worth 9,000 rubles. 9,000 rubles or $12,000. That's a lot. That's a lot. Unfortunately, they don't go often. Because at the moment with this setup, because we didn't, I would probably invest in some better buildings, have more dense population, because our production is currently around 40%, 30 to 40%, not more than that. So let's circle it. Yeah, I would say half a ton of clothes a day from each of the factories, so that would be 1 ton of clothes per day from both factories. Seems like our fabric is kind of stable production. It's equalized as the consumption of fabric. It goes up and down, but quite slowly. That means that a similar amount of workers are working in each of these buildings. Now, if you want to pursue this way of starting with clothing production, there's a couple of things I want to show you. So let's see what we did last month. We exported $18,000, so that would be 2 trucks, but we were just getting started. In practice, you would have closer to 30 tons at maximum production, but let's say at 50% would be 15 tons. That would be 22 to $25,000, or sorry, rubles would be how much you can expect from this. This is not a small amount. This is nice amount of money. But also look at our money. We still have. We can double this. We can triple this. We can produce much more, and also, when you incorporate this kind of warehouse in the middle, you can connect it with a lot of factories. So technically, we can connect 2 of these fabric factories with a warehouse, and then we would have 4 clothing factories, and so on and so on. You know what I mean, guys. Of course, you have to take care of your workers. Here, I built this building just so we can have a little bit more workers, so our productivity would go up. But I would do that anyway if I was starting. But there we go. Easiest, the fastest way to get money is, of course, what we do in real life: export oil. Second thing, I would go either for fabric, or I would go for coal. Coal is quite important. Coal in the form of exporting electricity. That's a really, really good way to go. Then after that, up to you. Cut down the cost of fabric, food, alcohol, whatever you see fit. In this case, let's just see one more thing here. For the last month, we have imports. I wanted to show you. We imported $12,000 of chemicals, but that was 3 tons of chemicals that we imported straight away. So we can't really say, see 7.3 tons of chemicals, and here we have 3 tons, so minus these 3 tons, so it will be 4, that will be half, just a little bit more than half, so 7,000 would be expense for the chemicals. Crops wouldn't be so much. So anyway, that's about it, guys. This is my suggestion. This is how I would go about it. Oil, definitely. If you have sources of oil, exploit them as much as you can. Build 2-3 rigs. You can connect them to big tank, and you can storage it there, and then have all the trucks going to a central storage point in those near those tanks. And as soon as you get a little bit more money, build a refinery in town and start processing that oil, or at least connect your people from town to your refinery. Right. I don't know what else to say. Everything I did here was with vanilla stuff from the game. You can see here trucks leaving every few days. That's quite good. Right. Like, subscribe. I don't know if you like this kind of videos. I would like to dig in deeper. I did with other games in statistics. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to do this now, because it takes a really long time to do one of these videos. It took me exactly just over 3 hours to do this video, with all the testings, with all the setups, and off screen. I don't know how long the video is gonna be, but there you go. This long video took me over 3 hours to record. Hopefully this is gonna help you guys. So stick to oil, stick to coal. That would be your main things that you would start exporting, and then some nice industry like this, clothing, and then later on food production. And when the money starts rolling in, you know what to do with the money. It's easy to spend it. Guys, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff. See you in the next one. Bye bye.